Hi, everybody. This is Todd Creager. And what I do is I help couples and individuals heal from crises such as infidelity, and I help rekindle passion for couples, and I help individuals heal from trauma of all kinds, complex trauma as well as simple trauma, such as a car accident. Complex trauma is when people are living in an environment that, as a child, even as an adult, that has been very sticky and inefficient and non-nurturing. So anyway, that's what I talk about. But today, I want to talk to you about defensiveness. That when couples get stuck in defending themselves, what I want to tell you though is there's a link below that is PDA that says three ways to reconnect without talking. And it's a guide that stops arguments and show you three simple, powerful ways to reconnect with your partner without explaining more, talking more, or solving more. And I think it'd be very helpful for you. So defensiveness doesn't mean you're a bad partner. It actually means that you're so much about being understood, you care so much about being understood that you make being understood your goal. But here's the problem. When you're defending yourself, you're not connecting. And often, the more you explain, the more distant your partner gets because your partner has expressed something to you, and maybe you want it to be correct, so you defend yourself. But the truth is that it feels like rejecting to your partner. Your partner feels diminished. Their experience is not being validated. And so what happens, they might feel more rejected. So they double down on what they said before. And then you, again, want to have understanding. And so you defend yourself. And again, it is because you care and you want your partner to see things the way they are, according to you. And so that's what happens. Really, defensiveness is, in a way, protection. It really isn't an attack, even though it feels that way to the person speaking. It really is about protection. And when both partners understand that defensiveness is really about protection, they might already start to soften. Because as you'll see what I'm about to say, soften is a big word. So I want to talk to you about Rob and Jody. Rob and Jody is a couple that I saw, and I've been helping couples move from constant miscommunication into deep unspoken understanding, not again spoken, but deep unspoken understanding. And oftentimes we think we need to solve conflict through endless conversation. That is not the case. There's one thing I've learned. Like I said, defensiveness is not resistance, it's protection. But even though we want to understand it at a deeper level, protection still creates disconnection, not connection. So, Rob and Jody. Okay, so Rob and Jody, this fits right into what I'm saying. They both, one would say something that the other person feels unfair, and then immediately, so let's say Jody would say something, and then immediately Rob, he'd want to explain himself because he felt misunderstood. And then she doesn't stop and go, oh, okay, I see your point. She doesn't do that because she has a point. She's trying to get her point heard. And so now you have two people bickering, two people. I call it like each person has their creative tennis balls and they're both throwing balls in the air, but nobody's really catching it. What we really need to do is learn how to play catch, where one person throws, the other person catches. In other words, is present for the other person. So you're really not trying to fight. Rob and Jody weren't trying to fight. They're really trying to clarify. But again, in this example, Jody didn't hear clarification. She heard rejection. And then, like I said before, Jody would double down. She would get more intense about what she wants to say. She'd maybe more angry because she doesn't feel heard. And then Rob would get even more frustrated with her that she doesn't understand that it's not fair how you're perceiving me. But again, no one feels heard. I think it was Rob that said, every time I defend myself, I thought I was helping, but She told me she felt like I didn't care about her experience at all. It was surprised him because he surely wasn't not caring, but it comes off that way. So that hit him hard when he's trying to, because like I said, when people defend, they're actually often trying to make things better. They never do, but they're trying. And so Rob is trying to make things better because if you could just see in my way, you won't be so upset with me. And then she takes it as rejection. So we tried something new. So the next time conflict came up, Jody, it could have been, we worked from either person. So Jody brought something up that definitely he resurrected in Rob the urge to explain himself. But this time he took a pause. He took a breath. He took several breaths. He reached his hand out to her. Notice no talking, no defense, just presence. His partner's reaction. She looked a little shocked, and then she softened and actually opened up more than she had ever told him before about that particular subject. See, that moment changed everything. Again, we think the way to fix this connection is to talk more. But when you drop the need to be right or be understood, defend yourself, you create space for something deeper, such as safety, softness, repair. When you slow down and you reach out in some nonverbal way and you've dropped your urge or your impulse to defend, something happens to the other person. It registers with them. Because really, your partner doesn't need your defense. Your partner needs your presence. And Jody was able to do that for Rob as well. And every time Jody, instead of defending herself, would take a breath or two or whatever she needed, and then reach out and touch him in some way, touch his leg, hold his hand. And they would do this in the session. They did it in between sessions. That he shared more. And Rob wasn't somebody who typically shared. But what they were doing was they were creating a place of safety. The next time you feel the need to defend, try this instead. Pause, soften your body, and then reach out in some nonverbal way. Because in that moment, when you shift the connection, you make it more important to connect than to have clarity right away in that moment. The entire dynamic can shift. Again, I want you to click on the link, which is 3 ways to reconnect without talking. It's a guide that helps you stop arguments and shows you 3 simple, powerful ways to reconnect with your partner without needing to talk more, solve more, or explain more. And this guide gives you real, practical reconnection tools that don't require words. And sometimes that's exactly what your relationship needs most, just I explained with Rob and Jody. Thanks for listening. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.